All right, everybody. Hello, 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 and welcome. You are here for 5 secrets to writing a resume that gets you hired. My name is Albert. I am the founder of Albert's List, and I'll be your host today. The resume, as you know, is a tough part of your job search. It is exactly the fundamental part of your job search, as it really just starts out the first impression that you make to other people when you apply for open roles. And in this competitive market, your first impression means everything. That's why we decided to put this webinar together today, because we want to show you 5 secrets to writing the resume that gets you hired. And with me is career coach Gretchen Hellman, founder of Outside the Box. Let me know if I got that right. And she's here to
Yep.
present to you what it means to have a resume that will get read, will get seen, and will attract the employers that want to get to know you more. Without further ado, Gretchen, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Albert. Always fun to work with another Bronco. We both went to Santa Clara, and I've missed Albert's list. So with that, I'm here to talk about 5 secrets to writing a resume that get you hired. So first of all, a little bit about me. I'm a trained engineer by training. But I went to work in go-to-market strategy, namely product management, as well as product marketing. And I was in the tech industry for almost 20 years. I worked at the individual contributor, director, vice president, and senior vice president levels. So I've hired people, I've hired recruiters to help me hire people, I've interviewed a bunch. And what I've done is I've taken that go-to-market knowledge that I developed to help people envision, get, and grow great careers. And so I use a lot of traditional go-to-market stuff because it works really, really well. However, I've joined that with life and leadership coaching and other positive psychology techniques because it's one thing to approach the job market, but it's another thing to approach the job market with our brain fully operational. And most of us experience this phenomenon that when it comes time to help our friends with their careers, super easy. The world is expansive, it's in living color, but when it comes time to help ourselves with our careers, the world shrinks up, gets super black and white, possibilities evaporate. And I'm also bringing this up because as we go to write our own resumes, that brain function can also get limited. Our primal brain can kick in. And so if you struggle coming up with the best solutions on your own, make it a team sport. So reach out, find a teammate on Albert's list, somebody who wants to do a resume co-writing session. Career stuff is really best done with other people to help support us and stay fully conscious. I've been in business for 10 years. I have worked with over 1,000 clients, everything from back-end software developers to HR business partners to salespeople to product managers. I've even worked with snow leopard conservationists, CIA agents, and pastors. So it's been really fun to learn all about the way the world works. So before we get to the secrets, most people, when they start to think about resumes, they start to get really curious about what the rules are, right? What are the rules that I can follow to make sure that I'm writing a really good resume? Oh, and by the way, part of my experience is writing really good resumes. In fact, I've had clients test the resumes that I write and they outperform that of their peers. So they get much better ratios. So I'm going to be sharing some of those tips here when it comes to resumes. So going back to the rules about a resume, how can I make sure I've written a good resume? And so I've come up with a core 4-point litmus test. If you're ever confused, follow this litmus test and do these checkpoints. First of all, is our resume honest? The reason why we want it to be honest is because lying gets our energy all off, right? And it's not really approaching the job market in the way we'd want. But it also has to be well positioned while it's honest. So honest can come in a bunch of different lenses. It can come with a what went wrong lens. It can go with a what went right lens. Your resume must be written with a what went right lens. That's really important. And so it must be well positioned. The third point of the litmus test is that it must be relevant. So it has to be relevant to the types of jobs that you want next. And I see this all the time. I've helped people out on Albert's list as well. And they're like, oh, my resume is not working. What can I do? And I look at their resume, and their resume is trying to appeal to four different job market segments at once. It must be relevant towards the segment of the job market that you're looking at, meaning it speaks in its language and its success criteria, and it really highlights those things that you have that match. There are so many different subdialects in professional jargon. Each industry, each profession, each level has its own jargon, and we really want to make sure we're speaking the right language. I really want to find an anthropology professor to help me with this because, like, or to verify this for me, because I think the reason why we create so much professional jargon is so we know what tribe somebody is in. Like, I think it goes back to kind of really tribal times. Like, I'll just ask you guys a question. So, for the people from the San Francisco Bay Area, if we had of which we have many, if you hear somebody say, I went to San Fran last night, if somebody says, I went to San Fran, what does that tell you about the person? Love to see it. They're a tourist. That's right. Absolutely, Albert. Yep, that's a no-no, right? We don't call it San Fran. We call it SF. And so the same thing happens when we're talking in professional circles. Yeah, we call it the city, right? We call it, yeah, city, SF, like definitely not San Fran and definitely not Frisco. And so we really want to make sure that we are putting forth the right professional jargon to show people what tribe we're in, because we really want to build trust. And also, the fourth point of my litmus test is it has to feel good. Like, you have to want to represent it. So I actually have some rules for my clients. I don't put anything on their resume that they hate doing. Because why would we put something on your resume that you hate doing? Like, you don't want to get chosen for that. We want to talk about the stuff that you love doing so you can find a better fit. So, honest, well positioned, relevant, and feels good. So I'm also going to go towards resume core principles. There's nothing that can get our mindset kind of off like a resume, right? It gives a lot of us that on stage feeling like we're being scrutinized. So, and so core principles to a resume. Your resume can never be perfect. It can never be done. The reason why it can't be perfect is because the job market is made up of people, and all of these people have different preferences, right? So, like, for example, when I was hiring and I saw somebody with an MBA from a top 10 business school, I would downgrade that resume because I have an engineering background and I learned street business. I wanted to hire people who learned street business. Now, my friend Kurt, he has a Stanford MBA, same hiring, we were the same hiring level, but he puts those guys to the top because he wants to hire people who speak the same language he does. So you can't write a perfect resume for everybody. It's just not going to happen. It's made up of people, and that's okay. It also is never completed. It's a living, breathing document, which is kind of fun. Like, we're ultimately upgradable. If we keep feeling like, not having SQL on our resume is hurting us, all we need to do is go take a SQL class and then put it on our resume. Like, the world is our shopping cart and we are in control of it. So, all right. And I see, like, keep the questions coming. I'll try to get to the ones I can. And if not, like, also please keep my workshop in mind. I know some of these are kind of like a little bit more specific. But the second core principle is your resume is not you. I want you all to really take that in. Your resume is not you. It's not your worth. It's not you. And so if people look at your resume and they're not giving you an interview, they're not rejecting you. They're also not accepting you if they give you a resume. They are just taking a look at the collection of words on a document, comparing that to what they have, and making a decision. And so the reason why I say this is the more worried we are about our resume, the less we're able to think about our resume. We really kind of want to be scientists of our resume as much as possible. And the third thing is, one of the things that's so torturous about the resume is the question, is it good or bad, right? Is my resume good or is my resume bad? And it's really important to measure it by ratios, not by individual data points. Meaning, if I apply to one job and I don't get that interview, that doesn't say anything about my resume. It's because we don't know if the job was real. We don't know if the CEO's son needed that job and that job was given to them. We don't know if there's an internal candidate. There's so much going on that we don't really control when it comes to getting an interview. But we definitely want to be performing along with the market. And so, right, like what are the right ratios for the job market today? So keep in touch with other job seekers in your field and share statistics and share data. If your resume is doing worse than others, probably time for some improvement. Like for example, I just met with somebody today and he's a new college graduate. He's like, oh, my job search isn't working at all. And I said, well, how do you know it's not working? Well, I applied to all these jobs and I only got 2 interviews. Well, how many jobs did you apply to? 12. How many interviews did you get? 2. And this was in a really, really competitive market. It's the broadcast journalism market. I said, well, that's really good. It's like, it is? Yes. And so it's really important to know like what we're looking at and to have a real world model to help give us peace so we can just go and look for jobs and measure along the way. See a lot about tailoring it. We'll get to all those questions about tailoring and what we do, okay? And so the other thing that I want to talk about is that your resume is a tool in a process. It's a very, very important tool, but it's a tool in a process. And so if you're not clear about what kind of jobs you want to apply for, it's going to be really hard to write a good resume because we can't be relevant. Like we don't know what language we're speaking. We don't know what kind of data points to pull out. It's hard because we can't really climb into that hiring manager's decision-making matrix and be able to do the right things. And so just know it's a tool and a process. And I have a funnel model to help you understand if your job search isn't working, what tools in the process you want to look at. So, are you guys ready for the secrets? Okay, you're quiet. I'm going to guess you're ready for the secrets. So, anyhow, so I'm going to cover secret one. And secret one is really know the game you're playing. So, okay, Steve's ready. Leah's ready. Awesome. All right. Lola, Naka. Great. I'm ready too. So, the secret one is know the game you're playing. Bach. All right. Dominic, Smita, I see you. Kimberly. Awesome. So, we want to really understand the real world hiring process. Okay. And so, the first thing to know is that the job market is made up of people, just like I was talking about. All hiring managers are different. And there's this myth in the job market that we're either accepted or rejected, right? Did you get accepted or did you get rejected? And that's actually not the case. The case is that hiring managers have really intricate puzzle pieces that they're trying to fill in. The candidates that they choose to interview have to do with all kinds of aspects about the role, all kinds of nuances about the team, and all kinds of factors about the company. And so, what that means for your resume is that with your experience and knowledge, your individual traits, and your skills, the number one thing you want to make sure that your resume says is, I can do this job. And the way you do it is by reflecting back things that the job posting is asking for. Now, I'm sure a lot of the people who are asking tailoring questions are like, does that mean I have to customize my resume for everything? Not if we pick a segment of the job market to go after. So like, for example, if I'm picking product marketing and enterprise B2B cybersecurity. That makes my life so much easier because I know I'm talking about product marketing, I'm talking about enterprise, and I'm talking about B2B, and I'm talking about cybersecurity. There are a bunch of jobs that I can apply to based on that. Let's say I want to ratchet out one piece and I remove cybersecurity like from my target list. It's going to get a lot more watered down because people pick for industry expertise. So then we're talking about the industry knowledge. And so I really encourage you to get a little targeted with your resume and what you're going after. Go after that thing for a set point in time, right? Because then fear comes in, and then fear is like, well, I don't want to do all this work and not have anything to show for it. What if it doesn't work? And so instead, agile methodology can be our best friend here. Do everything in short sprints, and that'll be better. So, but your resume needs to show that you can do the job to stand the best chance of being able to demonstrate that you can ramp up quickly. This is where your skills and knowledge areas and specificity come into play. And rounding out team bench strength is the other thing that your resume can't control because you don't know what the team bench strength is. But by really being clear about the domains you know, about what your top skill sets are, and about your results, it can be really, really impactful. So that's secret one. Know the game you're playing. You're not playing the accept and reject game. You are playing the connect what you do with what the job market needs game. And so that can make everything so much easier. Okay. Moving on to secret two. So when people ask me about resumes, they're like, should it be one page? Should I have my picture on it? Like, what should I do? And the answer is it depends on what story you want to tell. And the story you want to tell is going to have to do with your go-to-market motion. Like I saw somebody in here, they're like, hey, if I'm shifting industries, what do I do here? Right. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure we're speaking that industry's language and that we're overcoming objections to that industry by showing that we know about it. Like we can even take a course and put that up at the top, show people that we really care. Also, how we use that resume is going to be really important. That's anyway, I'm getting off topic. Let me share the thing that I really want to share. So I'm going to tell you how 99.9% of humans read resumes. And what I mean is hiring managers and recruiters. By understanding how they look at resumes to be able to understand who we are, we can start to understand the building blocks to really not only just connect, but stand out in the job market. And by the way, I've taken vice presidents of talent acquisition through this chart. I've taken Fortune 500 senior vice presidents through this chart. They all agree with me. So when a recruiter or a hiring manager is looking at our resume, they are hopeful, worried, and in a hurry. They're hopeful they're going to find the perfect candidate that just snaps in and has more things than we ever thought we could have. They are worried they're going to spend a bunch of time talking to people that aren't a good fit. And they're in a hurry because if I'm a recruiter, I've got other jobs, I've got other recs to source for. If I'm a hiring manager, I've got meetings to go to. And so they take 7 seconds on first pass to be able to understand who we are. They upload the idea of the job into their head, not the exact requirements, but their own unique idea. So recruiters are going to be thinking about everything that the hiring manager told them was a priority. Hiring managers are going to be thinking non-linearly about all those things, right? The team and bench strength and company strategy, like do I have a bunch of senior people who all want to get promoted? Well, then maybe I want to hire a more junior person who's not going to bug me for a promotion. There's a lot of things inside there. And I take 7 seconds. I scan the top. I don't read it. I'm not reading this resume. I scan the top. I go through these golden boxes. placing the most emphasis on the most recent job title and company. If that makes sense with the job I have, I'm going to give the rest a cursory look. So if I know who the company is and I understand the job title and that company has relevance to like kind of what I do, I'm going to feel like a lot more positively about it. If it doesn't, I'm going to kind of wonder. Same thing with title. Then I'm going to scan the dates to be able to get an idea of career trajectory. Do they stay? Like, have they been promoted? All that stuff. And then I'm going to scan the rest of the content. My eye is going to catch numbers, specificity, things like that. If it is a technical role, um, if it is a technical role, oh, I'll get the right way to, I'll get to education and how to highlight that too. I'm seeing some questions come in. But if it's a technical role, I'm going to be doing technical matching at first, making sure they've got the right technical knowledge, and then looking more at subject matter. If it's a strategic role, I'm going to be looking for industry knowledge, subject matter, as well as scope and impact. And then in 7 seconds, I've decided who somebody is. Now, when most people learn this, they get worried. They're like, well, how can I stand out if people aren't even paying that much attention, right? Well, the good news is that knowing where they're getting the story from, we can actually prepare to stand out our best. So let's talk about that. So knowing that hiring managers and recruiters don't take long to look at it, that ATS systems, it's, the more, by the way, with the new AI and ATS systems, some of that, like what they're really looking for is specificity and not just looking at rote stuff. So they're doing matchy, like keywords and subject matter. And then they are also looking for specificity, power verbs, things like that. So it's not that hard. But for your resume piece, there are two different kinds of job seekers. I've picked a lane and I'm going to look in that lane. And then there's the spearfishers. So, and the spearfishers, they like really look for jobs that they like, and they'll just go after that job. And that job could be across a bunch of different industries. I discourage spearfishing, and here's why. Because I feel like it's typically fear driven. Like we're spearfishing because we're looking for certain words in job postings to try to make us feel comfortable. And it's much more productive to try to understand first what makes us feel comfortable and then flip that around to focus on a job market segment that might stand a good chance of getting us there. And what I mean by job market segment, it's profession, it's level, it's industry size, it's industry, and it's also company size and characteristics. Like Series A companies are very different than Series D companies, right? And so based on who we are, we might want to go to different places. But so for seeking in a chosen job market, the thing that people often forget to do is think about what a hiring manager is hungry for, and then make sure they're reflecting that. So let's say I'm a hiring manager and I'm a head of product, and I'm hiring a product manager for a collaboration tool in the collaboration tool space. What do you think I'm hoping for? What do I want? What do you guys think? Product manager, collaboration tool space. I'm hiring. Anybody? Knowledge or Scrum or Agile? Yeah, that's definitely one. Technical, right? Do I have industry knowledge? Do I have domain knowledge there or not? Leadership skills? Sure. What about something even more tangible? What do tech companies care about? What's their top goal? Quantifiable cultural fit, communication. What do tech companies really, really want more than anything? They want money. That's what they want. They want money. They want money. Yes, money. Right? It's so easy. They want money. They want marquee customers. Yes, exactly. Right. So the minute, like, let's really crawl inside the heads of these hiring managers and think of maybe they want cookies as well. I like that. Cookies, like you can add a cookie on there, Dominic. But yes, hiring managers, they want market leadership status for their products. Number one. Number two, they want a growing marketplace. They want people who can really understand and move markets. Number three, they want happy engineers who aren't really angry because the product manager made them angry, right? So they want product managers that are not going to make them angry. I like free dry cleaning and free food. That's good too. So really think about that and write down what that hiring manager is looking for. It's so easy to get lost in individual skill sets, right? So with software developers, what do people really care about software developers? What do you guys think? Let's do another one. Coding stacks? Absolutely. That's a good one. What else? Demonstrable success, clean code, excellent. Agility, productivity, absolutely. So, yeah, like, are you a problem solver? What kinds of things? And also, oh, what people care about. Team builder. Yeah. And you know what they really care about? Are you going to get stuff done on time? That's a yes, time management. That's another really good one. And then it'll vary, right? Like if I'm back end, like they might care about the back end, front end, et cetera. Continuous and fast learner, 100%. So, and I know I'm using tech examples, so I apologize to anybody who's not in tech. I can talk about those other professions too. But a lot of people here in tech. So anyway, so write down three main ideas of what a hiring manager is really looking for in your job market segment. Make sure your resume nails those things because we want them to be greedy for the things we have to offer. And I'll show some real world examples. So, oh, okay, Lee, we'll try to talk about the communication space for sure. So, and then, whoops, also identify any open questions you want to make sure that you answer. And what I mean by that is, so for the person who is switching industries, right? Somebody like had a comment like, what do I do when I'm switching industries? Their biggest question is, can you get up to speed quickly in my industry, right? It goes back to that decision-making chart I had before. And so you want to really make sure that you can highlight anything that you've done to show them that you know about their industry. If you're going more profession-based and broader, then you want to really highlight your hardcore skill set in your profession. So we want to kind of back out of the industry stuff and we want to back in, we want to like approach professional excellence. So for example, like how we're so good at the profession we have and how we've always been able to drive whatever the success criteria is in that profession across industries and show we can be flexible that way. If you're going to spearfish, you can do it. It's just going to take you a lot of work to stand out. And let me tell you, with I have clients that do it, and sometimes there's a right time to do it. Like right now, I'm working with a client who's working in economic development. There just aren't that many jobs in economic development, right? And they're all kind of a little different. So there it makes sense to spearfish because there just isn't a lot going on. It's kind of like going to a cruise ship terminal. Like these jobs don't come along. Also, the snow leopard conservationist, but it was easy to write a core snow leopard conservation resume for him. And then we got off to the races. So, okay, big breaks. We will talk about big breaks here. I'll make sure I include that in our next secret. All right, you guys ready for our next secret? Secret 3. So we've discovered how hiring works. We now know how people read resumes. All right. With that, let's get to secret three. And so secret three is our job titles, our companies, and our dates tell the biggest part of our career story, not all that content that we're working on, because that's how people read resumes. They go directly to those foundational elements to be able to read, to be able to understand who we are. And so let's talk about some common challenges that I see with title, companies, and dates. And I really recommend people take a look at that first, like really take a look at the story your titles, your companies, and your dates are telling. So the first challenge is meaningful titles and confusing companies. So that could be if they were in a different industry, or sometimes people don't know who they are. Like I'm working with a client right now who's working with the biggest, most least known, like impactful organization in his industry. So his title makes a lot of sense, but the company doesn't. And so the way we get through that is we highlight the title bigger, and then we make the company smaller because we want the title to catch the eye. And we add a company description to help people understand what that company is in the language of our chosen target. And I'll show an example here. Uh, the other challenge, meaningful company, confusing job titles. We want to flip that. So we want to do company, and then we want to go to a descriptive title. And what I mean by descriptive title, this is, so we're going to go back to the 4-point litmus test. It has to be honest, no need to lie, but it also has to be well positioned and relevant. Sometimes job titles tell lies. And the actual job title we are given tells a lie. So, for example, if you see software engineering manager, how many managers, how many software engineers would you assume are reporting to that person? If you saw software engineering manager on a resume, 5 to 10. Okay, so Lee says 5 to 10. Anybody else? Everybody in agreement with that? Okay. I would say it's about like maybe 20, right? I had a client whose title was software engineering manager, and he had 250 engineers reporting to him. 250. And so the challenge is the job title that he was actually given is telling a lie, because everybody's going to assume that he only has 5 to 10 people. So we changed it to be the head of software engineering for the segment of software that he was working on in his company. So we weren't lying, because we weren't saying he was the vice president of software engineering. We weren't saying he was the senior vice president. So we were saying that he was the head of software engineering, and we were being very specific about the software organization that he was leading. So he wasn't taking credit from anybody else. It is okay to tweak your job titles a little. Absolutely. Yes, you can say curriculum developer, etc. It's really important, because if I'm a recruiter and I don't understand what your job title is, but I'm trying to find good candidates. Like, you can help me understand it by having a more descriptive job title. Just don't change it when it comes to formalize when it gets to be a lie is when I was a manager and then I call myself a director, right? Or if I was, or if I was an associate and then it's lead. So um, we want to make sure that we're kind of staying within the rank. That's why that client was the head of software engineering for that area of software at his company. He absolutely was. That was not a lie. We did not call him the director. We didn't call him anything else. And a lot of people worry about background checks. Like, I've never had a company, if you change it to a descriptive title, And then you tell people, hey, this is my actual title. It was just confusing. I've never had a company say, we don't want you anymore, go away. It's never been a problem. And I've been doing this for 10 years. So I wouldn't worry about that so much. All right. So also another big problem I see is lots of contract jobs with short time frames. Please, if you have a bunch of short contract jobs, bucket them under contracting. Don't list them individually. Or if you must, if there's a really good strategic reason, just make sure you put contract big and bold letters so people understand, because otherwise people are going to think you're a job hopper. That's a big challenge I fix all the time. If you've been at a long time with one company, break it up with different titles underneath, or if you've had the same title but different responsibilities, break it up to different responsibilities. 3 to 5 years is great. Shorter is fine, but we don't want a bunch of 6 month things or anything like that on there. I also saw somebody say, what if I've taken a bunch of time off, right? And that's a really, like, gaps are something that people really worry about when we get here. So if the gap is in the past, I tell people not to worry about it that much. And people are like, are you sure? And then I say, do you want to work for suspicious jerks? And everybody says, no, I don't want to work for suspicious jerks. Let me tell you, if you took like some time off 5 years ago, and then I'm sitting there interviewing you and say, I don't trust that you want to work because you like had a career break 5 years ago. What does that say about me as a hiring manager? Well, it says I'm suspicious. It says I don't trust. And so, like, I know it's hard in a competitive job market. I know it's hard when we're not working to kind of feel that way, but there is a fit for you. And so we are going to encounter all kinds of things. If the gap is more recent and it's over a year, here's what I recommend. I recommend that you call out the gap, and you also say it, like, you call out the professional development that you did during that time. So if you had fun, like, let's say it's for a fun reason. So I've dealt with gaps for not fun reasons and fun reasons. Okay. And so if it's not for a fun reason and you've had to be on leave for a certain, like, feel free to just share, like, I was on medical leave or whatever, and can also like share some professional development you did. If people drill into what that medical leave was all about, that's not okay. Like, they shouldn't do that to you. And I really want to let you know, um, the way a company treats you is a really big indicator about that company. And so, but if it was for a fun reason, do some professional development. If you haven't done any professional development, take some courses, just share the courses that you did in that top bullet, and then also talk about some of the fun things you've done. That builds good energy, usually, like for interviews. So, but it also helps people understand that you care about your profession because you're sharing the professional development stuff. Um, if it was for a really long period of time, that's kind of case by case. Like I've worked with people who are returning, like their returnships, and like it's been years and years and years. And then we want to take a different approach. We want to kind of pull out any volunteer work, any things we've done to keep their skills fresh, stuff like that. So yeah, if you've taken more, just say family leave and list the professional development you've done. So both, you can do both things at once. So family leave with professional development. Uh, so the biggest concern, there's a lot of concern about gaps. Yes. Why are hiring organizations concerned about gaps? Let's like really think about them and why they'd be concerned. What do you guys think? Looking at the chat box. So liability. Okay, liability. Why do we think liability? I don't think liability is such a big concern. Um, so Lola, yeah, just feel free to chat your question in there. So yeah, so performance, right? Like, yeah, like, do you like what you do? So they're concerned. Do you like what you do? Do you hate it? And you're just going back to it? Like, will you perform? And so by showing professional development, we're showing that we care. Um, are their skills obsolete? 100%. That's why we want to make sure that we show freshness in our skills. We're not going to get obsolete in a year. Like, no way. But if we've been gone from the job market 10 years, one of the things I make sure we do is really show recent technology is a really big thing. Yes. Are you up to the market and are you lazy? Skill set, all that stuff. And so, yes, if you show that you've done professional development, that shows that you care about your performance, you're a continual learner, and you care about what you do. Okay. So going to move on here. So we're going to do an example. So I went onto LinkedIn and I found somebody with a really messy story. So this person, I want you to take a look. So this person is seeking new opportunities in fundraising and development. Okay. New opportunities in fundraising and development. Here, how probable do you is that they're going to get an interview? What do you guys see in this story? I'd love to see. Anybody? What do you think? Maybe fundraising for a bar? Yeah, it looks like there's. I can't make the text bigger. It's, yeah, somebody said all over the place. Yeah, this isn't very probable, right? Like you can kind of see that they're, but we're not really highlighting the right things. And so I haven't talked to this person, but even just talking about, yeah. So if I was going to redo just what I call the tree, which are the job titles, etc., I would do something like, because here's what I know about fundraising and development. So it's all about dealing with high net worth individuals, like, and also like kind of minor gifts as well. So they want somebody that can be really friendly. They want somebody that can sell, etc. So customer experience representative, which is what a bartender is actually at a Tommy Bahama. And I added luxury so they could know this person can deal with high net worth individuals. I changed it to account associate rather than client associate because it just helps like bring it to a little bit more of the nonprofit development language. And I took off sales from Pin's Advantage and I named it a development representative. If I was going to do the content underneath here, I would use fundraising and development. I would also encourage the person to learn Salesforce. Users have the right skill set for this type of thing. So, so let me see. Oh, if you're not done with yet with a training, just say it's in progress. That's totally fine. Does LinkedIn need to match your resume? I would say your story needs to be consistent. And your job titles and your companies come from like your job titles, companies, and dates tell a big part of the story. So sometimes that's more of a personal decision. I know LinkedIn's public, and so I don't want to encourage anybody to go out and change a title if they're in their current job and if they feel like that's going to cause them some heat. Really want to recognize that LinkedIn is public. I think that's more of an in-depth question. So we might need to like for the workshop for the 3-day workshop get more into that. If you're applying to jobs in other sectors, you need to change both your resume and your LinkedIn. Yeah, I already covered that background check thing. If you're going through if you just say I used a descriptive job title and here's my actual job title, by the time people are at a background check, they've already chosen you, they trust you. I have never had anybody rejected because of that ever. And I've been doing this for 10 years. Um, so so this isn't a LinkedIn thing. I can touch on LinkedIn in the workshop, but we are running short on time, and I got more secrets to get to, and I got to stop on time. So I'm going to have to Skip. So, secret three, building trust. So, we know that hiring managers and recruiters are hopeful, worried, and in a hurry. So, building trust with specificity. So, everybody says you should have numbers in your resume, right? You got to have numbers. Well, the truth is, what those numbers are is they bring forth some specificity, which helps build trust. If your resume sounds like a job description where it's general and doesn't have any specific examples of technology and things that you've used, it's going to reduce trust because it doesn't have that color and that storytelling and that flavor in it. And so we want to use specificity, and there's a nice little reflective writing exercise we're going to get to in the 3-day workshop that's really going to help us make this come alive. And so the way to get specificity in our resume when we're writing our bullets is to use a combination of some of these, like, and it depends on the bullet, but what I did, how I did it, why I did it, and what were the results. So what I did, how I did it, why I did it, what are the results. That's really going to help you guys get more specific. And I'll show you an example now. Okay. So we're going to take a look at, so this is some resume content. So here's some resume content. What do you guys see about this person? What do you think? What do they do? And actually, I'll just tell you, this is for IT. Actually, wordy is not a big problem here. So wordy is not a problem. In fact, I see way too many people try to keep things short and then they're not able to get specificity in. And they're like, why did my brief resume not get any interviews? Don't be afraid of wordiness. Yeah, okay. And let's take a look at another person. So this is IT, so it's IT leadership. This is another person for IT leadership. So different profile for IT leadership. What do you see the difference is? Exactly, yes. More specific in the accomplishments, and you see how this is starting to build trust. Well, you guys, it's the same person. So I'll show you kind of, so this is the same person, and so this is the before, and this is the after that the specificity was brought into play. And the way we brought the specificity into play was we used what I did, how I did it, why I did it, what were the results. And for those people who are concerned about wordiness, this resume helped this person really make a significant career move. This isn't their whole resume, but it's part of it. So really don't be afraid of wordiness. Don't be afraid of specificity. The reason why these words help me is if I've got Azure or if I need AWS Terraform, my eye is going to catch that. Unified single sign-on, my eye is going to catch that. If I'm a SaaS company and I've got FedRAMP, my eye is definitely going to catch that because what do I care about? I care about money, growth, things happening that help my company grow. So yeah. Oh, length. This is one of my favorite questions. So like, how long should a resume be? So the first page of your resume is going to get the most scrutiny. Anything on the second page is just going to get a glance. If you have more than if you've got more than 7 years experience, it's okay to go onto the second page, but don't expect that the stuff on the second page is going to be considered as much or even looked at as much as the first. So that eye scan, in that eye scan chart, the importance diminishes the more we go down. So, all right, how am I doing? Oh, 8 minutes. We can do this. We're on secret 4. Okay, so secret 4. Yeah, 3 pages is kind of a lot. Unless you're more in CV land. If you're an academic, that's perfectly acceptable. If you have a PhD and you're in this kind of more heady think tanky world, there's a different resume culture. And by the way, I see we have people from other countries. Other countries have slightly different resume culture. And so I may be telling you some things. Canada, you're okay. I actively work with people in Canada. I have not worked with anybody in Jamaica, though. So, really, if you're in another country, it's all a little different. And so please take what I say into account. The specificity and the connection with the job market points really should still hold. However, like there's subtle differences in terms of length preference. Like Germany always put a picture on a resume here. We don't put pictures on resumes because it hurts diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging efforts. So 2.5 pages, people get jobs all the time with resumes that are longer, but I really want to challenge you to pick and choose what you're talking about. Also, a lot of these modern formats that we'll find, like on Canva or what have you, they were designed by graphic designers and they weren't designed by people who understand what the job market is like. And so don't pick a pretty format that sacrifices your ability to tell your story. Really focus on content first and then let the format meet that later. So, resume formatting, like I see Steve's question. So like all these like pie wheelie charts and stuff like that, like nobody's a fan of that. Those take too long to read. I can't get them very quickly. If you are a graphic designer, please, or like focus on the pie wheelie charts and stuff like that. Like you're going to be judged on your portfolio. But for most of us, if we're in kind of more operations, like non-graphic designy sort of things, um, oh, good. Jen, you're a graphic designer. Yes. So sorry. Yes, I'm speaking to non-designers. So that goes to relevance, right? So if you're a copywriter, should you follow my advice to not worry about wordiness? No, you should not. You should not follow that advice because you are a copywriter and that guidance I just gave you had you break the brevity law. But everybody else, don't worry about it so much. And there are some industry like stuff, like in the film and television industry, they don't like wordy resumes there. But so, okay, great. All right, cool. So so take advantage of the top bar. We're out of time, so I've got to finish this in 5 minutes, so I can't answer any other questions. I am going to be doing this next week, and we do have that workshop. And so we'll talk about that workshop. So we can spend 3 days together talking about this stuff. So if you're interested in learning more. So secret 4, take advantage of the top bar. And so everybody goes, "Ooh, you shouldn't have an objective statement, right? No objective statement." Well, here's the thing about the top bar is that when we understand resume user experience, meaning that chart I showed about how people scan resumes, we can use the top bar to our advantage. And so if we have a web readable statement about how we are in the language and success criteria of the position, we can help further plant who we want them to see us as in their mind. Okay, and I'll show you an example. Subtext in the top bar, that top bar should be used to highlight things that they will be greedy for, right? Like that exercise we did and what people care about when hiring a product manager, right? Can they build products that drive revenue? Like that's number one. So list important domain skills, knowledge areas in those elements, especially if you're technical. If you are a software developer, put those skills up at the top. Make it easy for people. That's going to be one of the first things that they're going to look at, as well as domains. Okay. And here's the balance. When we talk about 1 to 2 pages, think through what you absolutely want these hiring organizations to know. Put that in the top bar, but don't put too much. And so you're like let's say you work for Google, right? And that's the one well-known company you've worked for. Don't let that slip to the second page. We want that up on the first page. So it's all a little bit of a balance. Okay, so we're going to do an example of before. So here's a real world example of a top bar. So it's very traditional, right? They have the professional profile, they've got all this stuff. This particular client had the challenge that they had been in ad tech for a really long time, and the revenues in ad tech were really different, and they were really struggling to have SaaS relevance, so software as a service relevance. They wanted to get into that bigger job market. So he and I worked together and we came up with a top bar that made sales managers greedy to hire him. What made the people greedy to hire him is we did find some examples of where he had worked with software as a service, and we made sure that that was highlighted and not suppressed. The other thing that we did was we added a lot of numbers. What do sales executives want? They want sales reps that are going to make their number, that are going to bring a lot of great marquee clients, that are going to bring on big deals, that bring big recurring revenue streams. And so that's what we did. This is the top bar. And so enterprise SaaS sales, 10 million ARR. We expanded out like to really show that he had done things beyond ad tech. He was kind of trapped in an ad tech box, but we found examples of some different things. We highlighted his quota attainment, right? Quota attainment is super important for sales. And we listed all of these beautiful, delicious, to be greedy for top logos to help sales hiring managers understand what he could bring to the table. All right, secret 5. So once your resume is done, be really scientifically curious about it. Do performance testing in batches and collect ratios. I already talked about that. Ask other job seekers what their ratios are. So don't try to just be in a silo. Try to figure out what's going on in the rest of the world because the job market has been changing a lot. Play with different approaches until you get that interview funnel moving. Don't apply for 1,000 jobs and say it's not working without changing something on your resume or asking somebody a question. Do this in batches, like apply for 20 to 40 and then see what's going on, or mix up your outreach style. Don't just apply online, go talk to some people. And so this is the job search funnel. So if you're not getting interviews, if you're not getting initial screens, there's something off with the target, the resume, or the outreach strategy, but there's never anything wrong with you. So do some new experiments, shift up some things, measure it until you get this engine going. So with that, I just want to let you all know I have an upcoming workshop. It is June 25th to 27th. Right now, Albert, I think it's what? It's $227 if they sign up now. Is that right?
And if they're here at the webinar, they get an additional $20 off with the code that I just shared into the webinar chat. So that's an opportunity for folks to get a little bit of a discount and get ahead on their summer resume work. So tell us what they're going to get in those 3 days with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to have three 90-minute sessions. I'm going to also review the resumes beforehand and your individual questions about it. We're going to work on all these secrets, making sure we get the resume tree right. We're going to make sure we get to specificity within our bullets, and we're going to make sure each one of us has a good individual strategy to tell a powerful story, as well as a plan to translate that onto LinkedIn.
All right, wonderful. So you'll get 3 days. It's 90 minutes each, so it's 270 minutes, which is, even less than $1 per minute. And you get one-on-one instruction and group instruction with Gretchen. So we'll have the webinar chat going, as well as giving you guidance for your resume questions. And so, Gretchen, I guess while we're at it too, where have folks that you've worked with on their resumes been hired at?
Oh, well, gosh. Let me see. LinkedIn. So speaking of LinkedIn, they've been so Cohere, which is one of the hot new AI companies. That was a really fun project because that's like in AI right now, it's like getting into Harvard. So to really break through that barrier is really powerful. Google, Netflix, City of San Francisco, UC Berkeley, um, gosh, everywhere really. State of Colorado, CIA, NBC Universal. Um,
Oh, wow.
gosh.
The
So
major
I,
Bay Area tech companies, Salesforce, Meta,
yes. Oh
Cisco.
yeah.
Yeah, all those
Yeah.
great ones.
Yeah. Cisco, Meta, Salesforce, lots of startups as well. Some VC companies like Iconic, private equity as well, like BlackRock. Yeah, the list goes on and on. So
Yeah. So I think right beyond tech, we have a couple folks here asking, do you work with creative professionals and do you work with folks in the conservation space?
yeah, so I've worked across, so yes, I have worked across all industries. When it comes to working with creatives, I really love working with creatives. But we also want to make sure that they get really, really curious about their portfolio. So, like, for example, I was just working with a journalist. And so, am I an expert in journalism portfolios? No, I am not. But I had some other strategic things to help them with. So before I work with a creative, I recommend you talk to a couple creative coaches and you can talk to me as well to see if I might be a good fit. But definitely talk to somebody in the tribe and talk to me too and see which feels better.
Perfect. So once again, and we'll be following up with these links over email, but if you're still here in the attendee chat, you can see that the link for this boot camp, 3 days starting at noon to 1:30 every single day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the week before July 4th, and you get $20 off with this in-webinar code. Next week's webinar is the same webinar as today, and it'll probably go a little bit longer because I'm not going to be rushing Gretchen as much with the instruction that I had going on. So, if you'd like to, please come back next week as well, where we're going to have where we're going to talk about this and probably dive a little bit deeper. So, please come back.
Okay.
We'll talk about it then. Come back with any questions. Or that, we'll just go ahead and see you in the boot camp starting in 2 weeks with a chance to really transform your resume. Any final words, Gretchen, before we let these folks go for the evening?
No, I just want to say, Albert, thank you for everything you do for job seekers.
Oh,
Like,
thank
you
you.
really have done a lot. And so you make me proud to be a Bronco. And I see some other Broncos. Thank
I mean,
everybody
look,
for
it's
your
that Jesuit culture of giving back to the world and making sure that we can uplift everyone, right? So, yeah,
100%. 100%.
cool.
It's good to be playing with Albert's job listings again. So thank you.
Yes, wonderful. All right, cool. Well, we'll see you all either next week or in the boot camp. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please shout, and we'll see you at an upcoming Albert's List event. Thank you all for your time today, and we'll see you all soon. Bye, everybody.